Welcome to Crescent City with your hosts Natalie Jean and Jackie Zabrowski. When I was Arabin, someone's like, the lights make her look like she's dirty or she has a beard. I'm like, I do have a beard.
Well, that idiot doesn't know anything.
You're an idiot. So leave your fucking comments at the door.
Or leave them under our posts. Whoa. Let us know.
Whoa.
I just tried to do 5 o'clock shadow on my hunt costume. I am gonna make a hunt that I can be proud of before this series is over.
Yeah, I do feel like I need to actually give in and buy a hunt wig.
I can't figure out how to do a long masculine cut black wig. I can't find one. I don't know how to make it look well.
I even worry. It's like, I'm like, do I get a straightener? But that's not going to help you.
For my own hair?
Yeah. I feel like using a straightener might help in some of the wigs.
You know, I'm saying I think Hunt's hair is like at least slightly wavy. I don't think it's straight.
Right?
I think that's the issue.
This is what I go through with trying to be Hunt.
But I think that your hair is good for it.
Thank you.
But his hair's really just below his ears, I think.
know. I need it shorter. All right, I'll cut it to be Hunt.
Just for Hunt?
Just to be him. And I'll start slightly straightening it.
Okay. And you always have to have one piece dangling in your face or it's brushing hair out of your eyes.
Oh, it's upset. Oh my God. Especially, how do you not get upset every day? Can you imagine how upset this barbed wire tattoo made him? Because it's not only is it a face tattoo, which, think about before you get one, but also it's a constant reminder that he's not as powerful as he could be.
Yeah. You think that the visual of it is just a little fuck you every day in the mirror?
I hope for his sake that I would get a tattoo of E.T. on the side of my face to try and take away from the barbed wire.
Oh, to distract.
Yeah, because you can't take that away, so why not add?
Do you think E.T. is from Midgard? Oh my God.
E.T. from Midgard. Yeah, I bet. I bet. I do think so. Maybe he's some sort of shifter. I don't know. Maybe in the world of the veneer that we are not privy to yet.
Maybe he is just also deformed for his kind. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, you think that he's actually an angel or a seraphim, and you're just wow, what happened?
What happened?
Did you get left in the dryer? Aww, but wouldn't it be cute? And it's just his insides got too small for his outsides, which is kind of what E.T. looks like, kind of like a Shar-Pei, where I feel their insides are too small for their outsides. That's why they got so much skin.
Yeah. And they're shaped weird.
Knows. And they're shaped weird. Yeah, you're different Shar-Peis. Think about yourself. Also, not the nicest of dogs.
You're right. Us talking about this, I forgot all about the thorn tattoo. So I do think it's a good idea to get a second face tattoo of something that's completely different. Something like a hobby or I don't know, your favorite sunball team.
That or you get a big butthole on your cheek and be well, at least this up here isn't a butthole.
At least it's not.
At least it's not this.
Butthole.
And I feel that also, it's get a gag for it. Not for your mouth. I meant you have a bit.
Yeah.
Hunt's not the silliest of the boys.
Not yet, but we're going to have to tickle it out of him.
Uh-oh, Bryce, you better not. We are...
we don't like each other.
We don't like each other right now, so fucking get over it. We're not flopped because you were Hunt last time and I'm Hunt this time. But also, I dare say, I don't want to confess this, but I think that we all together know. Natalie, you make the hotter Bryce.
Oh, no,
I'm gonna say it. You make the hotter Bryce, know? And I can give that. I'm willing to give that to you.
No, you're crazy.
I'm sharing my hot power.
You looked great as Bryce. You did. She did.
You know what it is? Bryce, in a lot of the fan art, wears this like white silver oftentimes. And that is a color that is difficult to pull off for a lot of people.
I don't ever wear this.
No.
Literally only for this reason did I buy this dress.
And you look great.
I'll take it, but
hands off, Natalie. I'm taken.
You are?
Not Hunt. I mean Jackie Zabrowski.
Oh. Hunt technically is too, if you count.
I mean, his heart is taken. Yeah. Like, taken. I mean, if you love that hard and lose that love, yeah, like he's not looking at any other bitches. But I mean, you can take some for his bin.
I think he does. We learn he doesn't. He's not been like celibate.
No, he certainly loves it. Just hearing about the little bits. I know we're not even there yet. Sorry.
No. I realized that I need to fashion an Archesian amulet because I don't feel complete in this fit.
You're right. You do need one. I was going to say something, but...
And I just like to offer my apologies to everyone who's watching.
And if you need to puke, just puke underneath your table like I did earlier before we started because, like, I didn't want to let Natalie know what she was doing to me.
Oh, you threw up because I was disgusting, too.
Yeah, because you didn't have the Archesian amulet.
Yeah. Archesian?
You know.
Is that what they say?
It is. Okay. But it's also, you read with your eyes, I read with my ears. And together we read.
We put words into place. Well, we are back. If you recall, we learned a lot about Mr. Hunt Athalar and his background, and that his real name is Orion. And Hunt is a nickname.
Oh, my God.
On top of him having a very tough couple of 100 years.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like a good time, and I don't know if my brain would be able to handle that. But I guess if you're an angel, it's a little different because when you get tortured, it heals itself over and over again.
Yeah, but then because then it's just like knowing, again, it's what we were talking about last time where it's like the end knowing you're going to heal every time you're tortured, you're going to heal.
I'm pretty sure this is like a horribly vain thing to say, but I think part of it, I would be like, my beautiful skin, and then it's fine.
Because you know it's going to heal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad.
No, it's good to know these things about ourselves. We have to think about getting tortured until we get kidnapped and tortured.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I said. Unfortunately, we all have to live in a constant fear.
Oh, God. All right. That's fine. I already kind of was. So we're back with Bryce because we had been with Hunt in the last chapter. In chapter 10... Bryce is back at work, and she's trying to make a sale with the finance bro.
Yeah,
I did it. Who is in the shop trying to impress a supple young fae who he's escorting about the store. And she is kind of trying to gauge what this couple's deal is. It looks a little bit arranged. It looks a little bit transactional. And she wonders if this is a pairing between Fae families because that's really common in the Fae, especially in the hierarchies of Fae.
Yeah.
That they are forced into like arranged marriages. And she silently thanks the gods that she isn't held to that sort of contract because of her half-human biology.
It's good for some things.
Right? Her loathsome brother can't say as much, whose royal balls are a hot commodity in this world because he is a prince
of the Valbaran Fae.
His princehood can be used to negotiate and barter with other territories, and so she's just glad that's not her. And although he has to deal with it at some point, the Fae bro was never going to buy anything, and Bryce secretly prays for them to tire and leave so Bryce can have her tranquility in an empty shop. Before that can happen, though, she's got other people buzzing at the front door.
I've got to do my job while I'm at my job. It's the worst.
Soon she's peering through the technology, magic technology or whatever it is that is their equivalent of a ring door cam.
Can we get that? Can we, I want magical qualities being able to lock my door. I'd like to have curses put on my door. I want anyone that wishes me ill will to have to suffer if they cross my threshold.
Isn't it crazy to think about if you go back to, 3-4 centuries ago, having a ring camera probably would seem like magic.
Yeah.
So imagine what 400 years from now will be, I feel like in 400 years we're going to be able to have wings.
Natalie, don't say that. All right, we'll live forever, and then we can have wings too.
Yeah.
Although I think that in theory, actually flying is probably very scary.
I want to do it.
There's only one way to find out if you can do it.
Flap, flap, flap.
And I guess also clap, 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 depending on if you're like in the, Peter Pan-esque atmosphere.
Oh, when you do this.
Clap, 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 and then you start to fly. Because like if someone's clapping and believing in me, well, that's one thing. But just jumping out of a tree.
Wait, isn't clapping just for if you keep a fairy alive?
Yeah, it brings them back.
But is that what you do for flying? I thought you just sprinkled dust and believed.
What happens in you can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly, you can fly.
They get sprinkled.
They get spranked.
And they think of the happiest thing. It's the same as having wings.
Oh, they get spranked.
I remember.
That's why. Yeah, sometimes you got to talk these things out, and thank you for reminding me that, you know what? I think it may have been 30 plus years since I've seen the movie Peter Pan.
All I remember is I don't know how they still put some of those songs in the movie to this day. Do they still use those songs?
Very interesting.
Wow.
Very, very interesting.
In modern showings of Peter Pan, they still have all of the songs.
Hopefully you're having conversations with the kids about what goes on in it.
That is a lot.
But also you should probably be scared of anyone that doesn't want to grow up and wants to live in their childhood forever.
I won't grow up.
I won't grow up.
I'll never go to school.
I'll never go to school.
But that's not from the Disney one, right?
I think that's something else.
I think it's the musical version of it. We know what we're talking about.
Yeah, magical doors.
Magical doors, right. So that's what's happening at the Antiquities shop. Bryce is peering through the magic to look at these. Oh my God, these alpha holes. They've arrived and they're going to bother her. Ooh. That's right. The 33rd male angels are here. Hunt and Isaiah. Ugh.
Yeah.
What are they doing here?
They're kissing on the doorstep. And we're like, what do we do with these hot dudes kissing on the doorstep?
They're not kissing.
No.
They're standing there all gruff and grim. And she doesn't want to deal with them. And then we cut over to the POV of Hunt in the same time frame where he's kind of grumpily shuffling in front of the store with Isaiah, irate that Bryce is fucking with them as she tells them to beat it, hit the streets, but I'm not dealing with you right now. So they kind of just cut to the chase because she's toying with them and she's like, I'm not opening the door for you. He goes,
she's got that ace.
He goes, there's been a murder. And that, of course, strikes a nerve with Bryce. They don't explain anymore, but she realizes she needs to let them in because they have something they need to tell her.
Yeah.
And Hunt's irritation during this interaction is coloring all of his thoughts.
Bryce Quinlan leaned against the large ironwood desk in the center of the space, her snow-white dress clinging to every generous curve and dip. Hunt smiled slowly, showing all his teeth.
He expects her to cower, as most people do when he looks at them. But not Bryce Quinlan, because she's not like the others.
She's not like the other girls.
She just stares back at him, unimpressed. He cuts to the chase.
How can she be this hot and this obstinate?
I don't know. Maybe because she's already had all of her friends mutilated.
Interesting. I guess it does something to a person.
I guess so. So he just cuts straight to the chase. There was a murder near the meat market the night prior, and it's another person who was last with Bryce Quinlan. By the way, I have the map, and I have to just put it together still, but I'll be able to display where we're talking about on the map soon. Don't worry.
That's good, because there are a lot of different places in this world that get referenced.
So the meat market is another section of the town, and it's the seedy kind of section of the town.
Yeah.
So that person they're referencing who was just murdered was one Maximus Tertius. Tertius?
The vampire.
Maximus Tertian. Maximum Tertian. That's what it is. Vampire. So I imagine it's kind of tricky to actually kill a vampire. So somebody would really want to do it.
Yes.
Well, Bryce seems pretty relieved that it's not someone she gives one rat shit about.
Yeah, and he was a piece of garbage, so fine,
She's like,
out
okay.
with ya.
But there's a bigger implication there. She was seen having a fight with him, and then he ends up dead.
Yikes.
So she brushes this off, and they also want to know why Ruhn was seen showing up right after her argument with Maximus, kind of insinuating that maybe they were in cahoots and something happened there. She revels in the knowledge that Hunt and Ruhn have a history of fighting and hating each other because she's just mad at all of these males, and she just thinks about how funny it is that Hunt and Ruhn have already hated each other.
Of course, because they're all alpha holes, according to Bryce. Bryce smiled sharply, as if she remembered that fact too.
Have fun talking to him.
Hunt clenched his jaw, but she strode for the front door, hips swishing like she knew precisely how spectacular her ass was. I love the amount of times that Hunt, before anything, before obviously like nothing, that he just notices her ass.
Just because he notices things.
He's noticing, and that's okay. He's got eyes. He's just noticing.
He has to keep his head on a swivel. Okay.
Yeah, he needs to know these things about people to know what she's got, going for her that she can use.
What if she had a weapon?
Yeah, and it's that. I think just the ass is the weapon, baby.
The weapon.
Don't use it against me. Do.
For all of his mumbles and grumbles, he does sure keep grumbling in his mind about different aspects of Bryce's appearance, her dress, her movements. He must really not like her.
Yeah, it's because he's paying attention because he wants to make sure that she's good. And that's why he's doing his job.
Yeah. They proceed to pepper her with cop questions, which she does not enjoy. But they're trying to get to the bottom of this murder, and they have to at least address the fact that now it's several different people have died right after they saw her.
It's not a good look.
No. So she just is like, go get out of here with this. I am not even entertaining what you guys are saying. And she begins to walk away, kind of dismissing them. But Isaiah has some unfortunate news. Micah is also headed over. They don't just want to ask her about her whereabouts the night Maximus died. His death is reminiscent of the way the pack of devils died. He was torn to shreds. This, of course, causes Bryce's emotions to spike. And it somewhat confuses her because after the deaths of the pack of devils, they assumed it was the rebel head Philip Briggs.
Which is insane because he's a human and there's just no way that a human most likely could do that.
Well, especially because they know it was this demon creature, but then how would a human utilize this demon creature?
It, yeah.
But it seems like they just wanted it to go away and they wanted to have a reason to put him back in jail.
Yeah.
And so they just said, it must have certainly been Philip Briggs, the head of the human rebellion front, because he had a vendetta against them. They were the ones who put him in jail and he hates Veneer and blah, blah, blah. So he's been in jail since those murders. And so this now makes Bryce super confused because if Maximus died in the same way, they're kind of insinuating that wasn't Philip Briggs who killed all of her friends.
Or if it is, he's able to do something from jail, which, it's like that doesn't make a lot of this doesn't add up.
Something is afoot.
It's afoot.
She immediately realizes they think that they may have arrested the wrong culprit. Well, Bryce knows better than to try to deny the Archangel entry the way she tried with Hunt and Isaiah.
Oh, yeah, no.
There's no chance of that. The Archangel goes where the Archangel may. But in a quick action, she gets a hold of Jessica, and they briefly discuss all of the things that need to be done before Micah's impending arrival.
Which, could you imagine how much if you owned like a place that was like, oh, we've got all this like magic, crazy secret stuff, and then all of a sudden the governor is coming? I think I'd need a couple of minutes to clean shit up.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah, because she sells a lot of contraband, illegal items, like cursed things.
Which is awesome.
Totally badass. And I'm pretty sure, like, they have sort of an understanding where sometimes people probably know she's doing that, but they just kind of let her be because she's scary.
Yeah.
But if the Archangel's going to come in, Bryce and Jessica need to do a couple little things before he shows up.
Just clean them up.
And also just batten down the hatch, just clean up really quick, just make everything look on the up and up. So she does so, all the while fear running through Bryce that the actual killer of her friends may be loose on the streets.
Oh, God.
Micah's arrived in chapter 11, and we're still with Bryce. She mentions the ache in her leg at the start of this chapter, and we know it to be the place where the scary monster thing clawed into her leg and she almost bled to death.
Jesus.
Apparently, whatever went into her system from that creature is still causing her trouble.
Yeah, because, like, they could barely identify the demon creature, let alone how to fix whatever it was going to do to you.
And we don't know what it's done to her, but we know at this point that something it's bothering her in some way. And we've all heard about Micah Domitus several times, but this is our first encounter with him. Bryce makes it clear that he is extremely beautiful in her thoughts. And at the same time, his presence, his essence, makes her uncomfortable.
Yeah, because he's got so much power.
Yeah. I guess it would just, if a creature could just vaporize you in like seconds, you probably would.
Have an aura of weird around them. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Even though his skin looks like diamonds.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
This is the skin of a killer.
Oh,
Bryce.
no, don't.
As if you could outrun me.
No.
So the brief description of Micah, he's an age unknown but very old male Malach angel from the house of breath and sky. He has brown eyes, fair skin, and shoulder-length golden hair, tall and handsome with white wings. Bryce also says that sex exudes from him. And she does mention how she was drooling over him as a younger fae because she thought he was such a babe.
I do like that you include meh, not my style. Did you want me to read this?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Micah Domitus's brown eyes devoured her. His power pressed against her skin, ripped the air from the room. Her lungs filled the space with midnight storms, sex, and death entwined.
Yeah, I have a picture. This is just not my... He doesn't do anything for me.
Micah doesn't do much for me either. I think there is something about, like, a person that is in charge. Like, that. Honestly, in the way that, like, power like that doesn't turn me on. Like, that kind of, like, being the head and being, like, in charge of everything, like, that kind of thing doesn't get me. Someone that, like, has the ability to control a bunch of shit, but, like, willingly chooses to not use it because they're so powerful. Very, very sexy. And I feel like the way that Micah holds his power over people, not really a turn on for me.
Yeah, and it's just the whole, like, golden Norwegian boy thing is just not necessarily...
Not my thing.
Nah. After she's kind of contemplating his beauty and then realizes he's capable of these horrible things, especially when she glances over at Hunt's tattoo and sees... oh, these are enslaved beings
Think
here.
about it, bitch. But also look at my E.T. tattoo, and you can also think about E.T. if you'd like.
Yeah, and she went, oh, right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, E.T. phone Midgard. Yeah, I remember that.
She begins to feel repulsed by Micah's misleading facade as though it's a trap. And is reminded of the angels in general, the archangel's cruelty in general because of the fact that they use slaves. Well, they're all sitting here in the room. Jessica also joins this meeting via a big screen, and she's kind of just in a big, lush bedroom with, like, lovers.
See, she's
rules.
scary, sexy. Like, she's, like, powerful, sexy.
I love Jessica. Bryce thinks about how Jessica defected from the witch's house to the house of flame and shadow, the spookiest of all the houses.
Pretty badass.
She's never asked why, because she doesn't really want to become some tiny water creature that lives in the aquarium.
Because Jessica's always saying that she's going to turn her into something else. She's not allowed to ask any questions, but also, oh my God, what are you going to do to me, Jessica? What are you going to do to me? I'll follow the rules.
Well, so Jessica has this weird, secret, mysterious past. And so Bryce thinks it's like something's going on there, but she doesn't question any of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
And Jessica doesn't fear many things, and she barely bends the knee to Micah. But she does know she needs to at least, cater to him in some
a little
way.
bit, yeah.
She wants to cut to the chase about why this meeting is being called. She's got stuff to do. She's got people to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And Micah tells her it's because he wants to combine forces with her.
Jessica arched a blonde brow with preternatural smoothness.
To do what?
Micah said.
For Bryce Quinlan to find the true murderer behind this, of course. Bryce goes, wait?
Me? Me?
You're reading what I wrote in the script?
Yeah. I was trying to. Jessica's all, I know.
As soon as I was thinking about the scene in my head, I immediately started just quoting Publicity.
Yes.
From Kroll Show.
Yeah, so a little bit of that.
Wait?
God, I love the Kroll Show.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. I could watch Publicity all day. But no, we're not here to talk
We're not talking about Publicity.
It's Beast of her names. Okay, I'm done. So Bryce is confused. Like, what are you talking about? You want me to find the murderer? And Jessica is also extremely confused. This is a surprising turn of events. Jessica's immediately dismissive, but Micah knows he really pulls the reins here. She can't say no, ultimately.
No. But also, how annoying would that be? She's like, she's my only employee. You're really going to do this to me? But fine.
I mean, I feel more bad for Bryce in this situation.
Sure. Oh, yeah, no, she certainly doesn't want to do it. But of course, I'm going to immediately think about Jessica first.
Of course.
I need to make sure Jessica's okay.
Is she okay?
But she can take care of herself.
He informs them that the Ox has reached the end of all leads on this series of murders. They have been trying to figure out what's gone on. And now that this new murder has happened, they feel very confident that it's not Philip Briggs and they need to figure out what happened.
Yeah, y'all fud up and it's time for you to figure it out.
But it's still done for selfish reasons. It's really more than anything because the aforementioned summit is rapidly approaching and he will use alternative resources to save face in front of the other leaders.
Everything just needs to look good. Everybody's smiling. Are we all happy? And I feel like that is kind of what he's doing right now. Like, we got to close up these loose ends, bitches.
Yeah. So he's going to do whatever he needs to do. And then he delivers another bombshell, at least to Hunt. Sandriel will be participating in this summit and will be coming to Crescent City. That was the perfect moment to do a spit take, but it would have ruined all of our equipment.
Yeah, it would have gotten coffee everywhere, and it just would have been, a nightmare for everybody.
But she is.
I'll do a pretend one. There you go. That was more of a puke, but it's fine.
That was definitely projectile vomit.
Sometimes some other stuff comes out. When I open my mouth, I don't know what's going to happen.
Here. So Sandriel, the infamous, scary torture lady who Hunt has very much trauma from.
Yeah. I don't want that bitch coming here.
She's coming to Crescent City for this summit. And
and she looks just like his dead love.
His murdered love.
Good Lord. That she murdered.
Yeah, so he's got fear coursing through his body secretly. And we're with him in this POV section. And we feel the full force of dread that courses through him at this news. This is his torturer. Not to mention the lady who looks exactly like we just said, his deceased lover. Jessica demands to know what Bryce could possibly provide to the investigation. And Micah lets her know that because she is the only known person to have gotten a clear look at the demon creature, that she kind of has to be of assistance now.
Okay, but also, she's like not a detective, and like, Micah, squeeze.
I guess they're just in a bunch of dire straits, and only a really sexy woman in a tight miniskirt can solve their problem.
Don't trust an angel. I don't trust one.
So, Hunt is quietly having this internal panic throughout this conversation, envisioning worst case scenarios that involve Micah not being able to solve this in time, that the Asteri will be angry that there's a murderer loose, and then give all of the power to Sandriel to control all of Volbera, thus putting Hunt back into her claws.
Oh, it might be spiraling, but I understand, and you are valid for the spiral that you are feeling right now, Hunt.
Unfortunately, it's not even that crazy out of the question.
No, especially like think of what has happened in the hundreds of years he's been alive.
Yeah. I mean, they do stuff because all of their limbs grow back and wings grow back, so they'll rip them off over and over and over again.
Things.
So there would be no bargain. Also, the other thing that's keeping him alive is the idea that the bargain could end one day. But if he goes back to Sandriel, there's going to be no freedom.
No.
She's never going to let him go. So now Hunt has a horse in this race.
Mm-hmm.
But Micah's not done dropping bombs yet. Both murder scenes hold another connection to Bryce.
Micah looked at her. To her credit, Quinlan didn't lower her eyes.
Maximus Tertian and Danica Fendier were friends. This is shocking to Bryce, and she's immediately in denial. There is no way, she thinks. She would have known that. Not to mention, Maximus was a grade A creepazoid.
Yeah.
Why would Danica be friends with him? She tries to voice this, but Micah shuts her down. He tells her there were many things about Danica she did not know.
Like what?
And why does he know?
Like what? And why does he know? Never trust an angel.
I won't, and I wouldn't, and I never did.
Mm-mm.
Foreshadowing, perhaps? Micah continues on that Bryce might be the only person who can gather the intel needed to retrace Danica's steps that day. And one final thing, Hunt Athalar will be on security duty during this little endeavor.
What?
None of the parties seem specifically especially thrilled at any of this news, but Hunt does think with relief that maybe being on this task will force him to miss summit business and perhaps he can avoid Sandriel. With these commands from Micah decreed, the angels begin to make their way out of Griffin Antiquities. As Hunt is about to exit, he stops in the front doorway, and tells Bryce to start a list of potential suspects and possible last locations of Danica.
Meanwhile, like her brain is blown right now of even just thinking of like when you like talking about a person that you've lost that you are still grieving over, and then finding out information about that person that you're like, oh, was there a part of their life I didn't know anything about? While you're like, she's reeling about all of this, and then he's like, all right, we gotta get into this because now Hunt's all business.
Yeah.
He's all business.
No pleasure, don't worry.
No.
No pleasure happens. So he kind of stops in the door and is like, hey, subtle potential
Oh, you don't want me to
suspect.
do it,
There
right,
you go.
Natalie? Yeah, you be scared. Don't you high five me.
Oh, you're doing the
Don't
tour?
you? Yeah, it's me. I'm hanging in the
Oh,
door.
okay.
Hey, why don't you go and get me a list? Hey. Did it work?
He's not flirting yet. He's
not
supposed to be
flirting.
scary.
I don't even know that I'm flirting. Like Hunt, I'm as Hunt.
right.
Like I'm just so sexy that like you just melt for me. You melt for me, Natalie.
Not today.
Oh, okay.
So he tells her these things, and she responds by sending a
That's
spell.
also how you should take being turned down. You go, okay, and then you stop. Just letting everybody know.
modeling good behavior.
Thank you. Yeah.
She responds by sending a spell through the doorway he's gripping that burns under his hand.
Whoa, baby, where's this heat coming from? Whoa, baby, whoa. Sorry, I think he's also Elvis in this situation, but like late Elvis. He's kind of sweaty, baby. Yeah, I'll give me another big old summer.
Unfortunately, consent with Elvis was a little vague.
Oh, was it dicey?
He did marry a 13-year-old or whatever.
You know, 13 was different back then.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it was.
It was not.
No. Yeah, so I'm glad that you did that, Bryce. But, sorry, do you want me to read this?
Yes.
Hunt jumped back, his lightning flaring, defending against an enemy that was not there.
Stop flirting in the dialogue.
The door shut. She purred through the intercom.
I'll call you. Don't bother me until then.
Fucking spare him. No, it's actually very cute where he's not trying to hit on her and he's just trying to talk about business things.
Oh, you've got to talk to her about it.
Yeah, but Bryce is so frustrating. I feel like Bryce Quinlan also is, and maybe, God, do I feel this way about all of SJM's leads? That at first I was very annoyed by Bryce Quinlan. And then the more I got to know her, the more I liked her. Because at first I was like, okay, I understand you're upset, but this act is annoying to Hunt.
But also, she is probably the lead character that the most people find irritating.
Yeah.
I like her, but I understand why people feel that way. But I still like her.
I'd rather a lead character have flaws that I find annoying, but I still overall enjoy the story of. It's like, you don't have to love a character at every moment of a book to love a series.
And the protagonist shouldn't be like the most perfect being on earth.
No, because if all of her leads were the same, all of the leads would be the same. I like that there are ebbs and flows of the things I like about each one of them, almost like it makes them three-dimensional, and I appreciate that, SJM.
Oh, that was my ghost.
Also,
my ghost was excited.
There was the ghost. Oh, is that the ghost of leads from the past?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Okay, it's for the best that I didn't like you. These are things we have to understand and grow with about our lead characters.
It's true.
That's all I'm saying.
So then we cut over and we're with Hunt, Isaiah, and Micah on the rooftop of Griffin Antiquities immediately following this meeting because they are, of course, angels with big-ass wings. So that's how they take off from where they are.
And big old beds. Mm-hmm. Oh, Jackie, can you warm me? I'm a big old angel. I'm mean. And I'm like, I can make you a lasagna. Ooh, what do you want from me, baby? You want a little bit of ricotta? I'll just cover myself in ricotta cheese.
Are you talking like an old pirate?
I just, I feel like that's, like, pirates are always sexy, right? They're not.
Okay.
Very scary.
Interesting.
Very, very scary.
Hunt's analyzing Micah when we get some more detail about the city and Micah himself, who people describe as quote-unquote progressive because of his allowance of technology to thrive in Crescent City. Some cities in Midgard forbid that, and they live an old-timey lifestyle. Micah makes it clear that he needs this crime solved ASAP at just about any cost, hence the reason for bringing in Bryce. And then Micah shocks Hunt. If he can solve this in a timely manner, he'll reduce Hunt's debt from over 2,000 kills to 10 assignments.
10?
Just 10. Hunt is correctly suspicious of such a generous offer. Why would Micah offer this?
But you can't trust an angel. But again, what do you do when you don't have a choice?
And he's left to ponder as well as we are as readers. Is Micah just trying to become a more progressive, thoughtful, empathetic leader who wants to help Hunt? Or is there some reason that solving this case is so important that he's really willing to release his servants just to have this case closed?
I don't trust anyone with that amount of power in any situation.
Shouldn't. Nobody should have that much power.
No. Because they can do anything to you.
No one man should have all that power.
Whoa.
And he should have listened to his own song because he went crazy.
I thought that was a quote from Dr. Seuss.
It's a Kanye song. So we don't know the answer to these questions. Maybe we won't know, maybe we will, but Hunt doesn't know right now either. He seems really unsure, but the idea of freedom is enough of a potent temptation for him to immediately agree.
Because that's the thing, because you think, like, all of this is being too nice from Micah. Like, because he didn't have a choice over whether or not he could help Bryce Quinlan, because, again, slave. And for him to not only not have a choice, but then to get something good out of this, how could you possibly trust this fucking angel?
You can't, but he's
got to kill no matter what. So
he's like, if I don't take this, he doesn't want to kill 2,000 people. He doesn't want to have to do that. And so, I mean, he's been through worse. Bring it on, I guess. He's already been tortured for centuries. So he says, okay. And not only that, but Micah makes it clear he is to tail Bryce at all times to keep tabs on her. Maybe protection, but also mostly to spy on her. Not so fast, though, Hunt. Keep your dick in your pants and your hands to yourself, or you'll find yourself without either for a long while.
I hear you loud and clear, boss. All right, boss, but with that ace. Oh, and I'm watching that ace swish through. But we keep our hands to ourselves.
Right, because Micah is referencing there what we were just talking about, which is that angels can grow back body parts. I think anything but their head. So you can think of all the different things that can be cut off and grown back.
God, and the amount of torture. SJM is so good at writing torture. It's so upsetting.
It's so upsetting. But Hunt has zero interest in pursuing Bryce. All he can really focus on is freedom and the concept that he could get away someday.
Boy, there ain't nothing in that head of yours. But you have to. Like, again, he has to do these things. And Micah said this to him, so he's going to do because he's a man of his word.
Ain't an ass so spectacular that you don't get your freedom.
But don't mean you can stop what goes on in the old mind zone.
No,
I tell you what.
That's okay. It's what you let it run free in there, you know?
Yeah.
They come to an agreement and understanding, and then Micah zips into the sky on his pearly white wings, leaving Isaiah and Hunt all over what just happened. Isaiah points out that Hunt's going to, at the very least, get to miss most of the summit because Hunt's sort of just like not feeling great about any of this. But Isaiah's trying to comfort him, say, look, you know, you're not going to have to deal with any of this other shit. So this is great. And
then they start to kiss.
No, not yet.
Will I continue to ask almost every single time they have a scene together? Yeah. I'll forget eventually, but for now,
if it keeps you recording the episodes, sure.
Let me dream. Again, you can't stop what happens in the mind space.
Hunt agrees he is happy he's not going to have to be at the summit, but he isn't thrilled about trotting after Quinlan for the next month. He also doesn't trust her, which is true. In fact, he hasn't moved her from the potential suspect list in his mind.
Well, it is interesting that she is involved in the last person to have seen the deceased in two separate instances.
And he doesn't know much about her. In fact, his few interactions involved her being completely gacked out on a bunch of party drugs, being a complete maniac, and then now where she's being kind of rude and flippant, and they still think she's just raging all the time and doesn't give a shit about anything.
Right.
They part ways as Isaiah goes to confirm Bryce's alibi with Ruhn the night Maximus was killed, telling Hunt not to come visit Ruhn with him since they have gotten into fistfights before, and Isaiah clearly does not want to deal with it. Back with Bryce, At the same exact time this is happening, she and Jessica are processing everything. Jessica's losing her main employee for at least part of the time, though she makes it clear to Bryce that she is still responsible for her appointments.
This is a lot to get put on her shoulders. This is just so much. And, like, of course, how does she deal with it? By being flippant, by being silly, by being a little, like, vain and a little, I don't care.
Like, I give a shit about any of this.
But she does give a shit.
She gives many shits. Bryce doesn't mention anything to Jessica, but in her mind, she is thinking about how she's been putting an application together to try to get another job. So she tells Jessica, yeah, I'll keep my appointments, of course. But in that same breath, she's thinking about how she can't wait to leave this job. She wants to go somewhere else.
Man, doesn't it always make you feel like a double agent when it's like you're already looking for other jobs, but you have to pretend like you're at your current job that you're not looking for other jobs. So you have to go up like all of a sudden, like, why do you love to help? Why do you love to do these things? It's just because you know you're on your way out and you're just counting down the moments before you put in your 2 weeks notice. It's a beautiful kind of hate.
That a lot of people wouldn't do that. I think that you're a very responsible employee.
Thank you.
Yeah. She doesn't actually know what the heck she wants to do with her life, which is fair. She's in her 20s.
I get it.
But she knows she wants to get out from under Jessica's thumb. Bryce?
Oh, what, you don't want a boss that keeps threatening you all the time or that you're genuinely actually scared of?
And you have to go do things like flirt with a vampire to make a bunch of money.
Oh, all the things I just said, I was like, yes, would do. But, you know, to each their own.
Bryce is also reeling with this strange command from the Archangel. She and Jessica end their video call, and we watch Bryce compulsively check the last text she received from Connor. So after she's already just kind of reeling over this news that maybe Philip Riggs didn't do this and the killer's out there, we watch her do sort of a compulsive move that she's been doing for the last 2 years, where she pulls her old phone out and starts repeatedly looking at the text from Connor, like she had done hundreds of times since that night. She angrily mulls over how Fury didn't even bother to tell her the news about Briggs not being the killer, even though she knows Fury most certainly already knows because she works as an assassin. Tragedy does funny things to people. And then we're swooped over to a new brain. That of Ruhn Danan's.
Crown Prince of the Valbaran Fae.
And we are meeting the enigmatic Autumn King, finally, in this scene. We don't actually learn his full name in this first book, so I'm going to continue to refer to him as the Autumn King. We are at his palatial home. Ruhn is clearly not happy about it. But I gotta say, I think his house sounds pretty sick.
Dude, yes. Bookshelves rose 2 stories on every wall, crammed with tomes and artifacts both old and new, magic and ordinary. A golden balcony bisected the rectangular space, accessible by either of the spiral staircases at the front and back.
I mean, it's not that bad, Ruhn. You know?
Yeah, I mean, oh God, think about that. Oh, where it's like, autumnal, and then you're just reading a big book, and just the feel of the wind coming in as you're just sitting there.
And I know you've had a bunch of childhood drama there, but what if you just hang out in that library and think about how cool it is?
Oh, God, it's gotta suck if you've got bad daddy and bad daddy is immortal. Because it's not even like, well, someday bad daddy will be gone and then I won't have to worry about it anymore and then I get this awesome house.
Not unless you make him gone.
Yeah, daddy!
So we gauge from their first interactions that they do not have a good relationship and that the Autumn King comes across as extremely cold. So what we've learned of the Autumn King so far seems to be checking out. Mm-hmm. He is the bare minimum of what we know about him, which is he is quite old, over 400 years. He is a fey male of house and breath and sky. He is tan, tall, and muscular. Long wine red hair and amber eyes. And he is doing science.
Which all of that is very hot. Like thinking about this hot dude just doing science in this big book room. Yes, it does make us want to slip out of our seats. But hold your slip. because my slip is still
Suck
very
it
much
back
far
in.
inside. Yeah, suck it right back in those lips because we don't want the Autumn King.
No, he's a bad man. Ruhn's here on official business, as the king and Ruhn are also part of this biological hierarchy that runs Midgard. We've talked a little bit about it before with the different houses. And if, for example, Danica was sort of forced to be a wolf cop because of her heritage. And so they're also
Wolf
sort of...
Cop, yes. I need that. Like, where's that B movie?
I'm sure that exists.
Wolf Cop.
There's no way that does not exist. I'm sure somebody will send it to us.
I'm looking it up. Wolf Cop 2014 horror comedy. Yep, immediately.
I actually
I
remember this.
Wolf Cop.
I remember this coming out.
Now I want to watch Wolf Cop because apparently it's great.
There's also another Wolf Cop, the sequel.
Called Another Wolf Cop, if you were wondering. We're not making that up. Yeah, I want to starring Danica Fendier. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, meld the worlds. Give me a horror comedy out of Crescent City.
Oh my God, that would be incredible.
Please.
So they're sort of stuck in this as hierarchy as well. This what do they call it? A caste
system, yeah.
The city heads report to the governor, but they lead their own districts and they have their own Ox division. So Ruhn heads the Fey Ox division, which is probably one of the reasons that Hunt and him are butting heads all the time, because they're both like having a pissing contest.
Right.
Not that any of them had any choice, but he was trained his entire life to be a lethal killer for this role. So he's another guy who can just chop you right up.
Oh no, I'm so scared of him.
I mean, but you don't want to get chopped up.
No, I don't. I definitely don't want to get chopped.
But you want to see him have
girls.
a sword and be like, wow, your sword's so big and sharp.
And be like, I want to be like, go chop up that person. Wait, JK, don't. And then,
I don't want to see
I don't want to see it, but wait, also do. I'd be into it.
So, of course, Ruhn then he feels the need to share this sort of important information with his father. And he tells him about the meeting that he just had with Isaiah, which we saw the before of in one of the previous chapters, which is Isaiah going over to check on the alibi of Bryce, because Ruhn saw her go into her apartment. So good thing that he was watching her, because now she has an alibi.
Yeah.
And because of all this stuff...
You need protection, Bryce, all right? I know you feel like you don't, but you do.
And now that he had this meeting with Isaiah, now Ruhn's telling his dad about it, and that he's updating him about Maximus's murder and all the updates about Briggs not being the killer. The Autumn King is kind of being a dick like he is and just says...
Like always.
Yeah, I know, you idiot. But he doesn't say idiot, but he just says, yes, I'm aware already. Which is like, oh, cool. I guess you weren't going to mention it to your son, who's
love to talk about it. Yeah, really would love to talk about it, because especially Ruhn is again the head of his Ox, so he's the one that needs to muscly take care of the Fae. Muscly take care of them. Yeah.
And he kind of just says as much as, "Oh well, you've been told. I guess I don't need to tell you."
Thanks,
just being
Autumn King.
Sort of sarcastic and shitty, and a little bit more of their power hierarchy is they've obviously, as older adults, have had the drop already. And Ruhn ranks slightly lower on power ranking than his father, which made him less of a threat or a contender. So he doesn't necessarily worry for his life around his dad, but his dad still treats him kind of like trash.
Yeah, and also it's no good for their dynamic, because then his father, who's a piece of shit, is like, oh, I'm more powerful than you, though. Do you remember? I'm more powerful. I've got more power. Do you remember?
But...
Also, it definitely just caught on the camera that I just looked at your breasts, but I will say it's because you went like this and it just happened.
Oh, I'm asking for it?
I will say you were asking for it, but also I didn't mean to, and I got caught on camera.
I'm sorry.
So I needed to say something about it,
fault.
but you're not. It's like, I'm not blaming. I just want everybody that when you see it happen, it was natural, okay? Sometimes you look.
My boobs are sparkly right now. It's the way it is. So, however, even though his dad has more power than him, Ruhn has a little something special that his father doesn't have. So Ruhn is one of about a dozen Fae princes across the planet. And Most of the others, he's known in some way, shape, or form. He doesn't obviously like them very much most of the time. But he stands alone as being what we learn is called starborn. All of the princes alive in his time frame, nobody else is starborn but him.
Whoa.
And we're going to learn more about starborn power.
God, I forget how much in the top of this book is just sprinkle, 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 and everything unfolds as time goes on. But I just remember, it's like I completely forgot that Ruhn was starborn. Like I wasn't even like thinking about it as a portion of, just because so much happens in these books that like, man, she builds out this world so quickly and yet so slowly, and like lets it unfold in such a beautiful way. I had really nothing to say about it. I just think it's great.
And she thinks it's neat, and so do I.
Thank you.
Ruhn does not like this about himself.
But baby, you're special.
Not about necessarily the starborn power side, but the fact that he is a prince, that he has this position in the world, that he has to behave in certain ways. But it doesn't stop him from using the royal money to buy a flop house on the other side of town. Because anything to get away from mean daddy, right? So if you're going to be stuck in this role, I would also use the money.
Yeah. Because the money is not, like, essentially that's never ending for them. Like, for that family. You may as well use it because it's not like it's going to help or hinder your bad daddy anyway.
He's not allowed to really go get a different job, so you have to have money somehow.
Yep.
They have a brief argument about Bryce, and it's because the Autumn King really is very disrespectful to his daughter, even though he doesn't really even call her his daughter. And Ruhn reminisces about the ill-fated few meetings that Bryce had with their shared father. Because, of course, Bryce was raised by her mother amongst the humans. She was 13, and Ruhn at that time was already over 60.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I feel like we have conversations about, like, big age gaps between siblings. And, like, you imagine, man, 60 years of an age? I guess that would be 47 years, which is conceivable.
I'm sure that's happened many times, especially in, like, I'm covering Mormonism for my other show. And that happens in those families because the men just keep making.
They can just keep making them.
They keep making young brides have their babies.
That's all you got to do. Just get new young ones. Right? Is that what you're learning from the Mormons?
Yeah, just you take away all their autonomy. It's cool. So Ruhn witnessed how poorly his father treated Bryce, and it changed his entire view of his dad because he maybe had a slightly better relationship with his dad before he learned he had this half-sister. And when he watched how his dad treated Bryce, he vowed to never, ever turn out like his father. Even though the Autumn King and Bryce didn't have a relationship after those brief interactions, Ruhn had continued to spend time with her and her parents, with the humans, for another 3 years, and he really cherished that time. He loved having her as a sister. And I would imagine if that age gap was there, he would almost feel like a dad to her.
But also to, like, feel family for the first time.
Right. Yeah, to have, like, a loving, even Bryce's mom was, like, treated him like family, even though they weren't related.
Yeah.
And
because, of course, Ember would.
Oh, Ember. So they had this relationship for 3 years after that, so till she was 16. But then they had a mystery fight. We don't know what happened just yet, but something occurred between them, and they completely stopped speaking to one another.
Ugh.
His memories only go so far into detail right now, so that's about all we can gather. But they never really recovered their relationship, hence their terse interactions. Regardless, Ruhn feels protective over Bryce and clearly loves her.
Oh.
The same can't be said of their father, who speaks of her with disdain and disrespect.
We hate you, Autumn King.
Boo. This causes Ruhn's shadows to appear, which likely irritated his dad even more.
Beyond his starborn gifts, the bulk of his magic skewed toward his mother's kin, the Fae who ruled Avalon, the mist-shrouded isle in the north, the sacred heart of Fadum, His father would have burned Avalon into ashes if he could. That Ruhn did not possess his father's flames, the flames of most of the Valbaran Fae, that he instead possessed Avalon abilities, more than Ruhn ever let on, to summon and walk through shadows, had been an unforgivable insult.
So they are literally like night and day, where Autumn King has flame power.
It's all the light. It's destruction, but it's light. And then there's the shadows of the Avalon Fae.
So I assume his father feels irritated that he's not an heir who's like taking after him. But also, like, a guy like the Autumn King, wouldn't he be more happy that it wasn't a carbon copy of him, like, because he's egocentric?
I think that he does want the carbon copy of him because he's egocentric, but I bet he doesn't want him to be as strong as he is.
Right. And
so he can always have control over him.
In many ways, he is strong and has different capabilities than his father. So here's yet another world expansion by bringing Avalon. Is that how they say it?
Avalon, yeah.
Avalon. I was always saying Avalon. Avalon is Ruhn's mother's land, and it seems like Fae born from different types of Fae would favor one over the other if they were born to, like, you know, one of the parents, just like genetic things, like one of the parents' powers would be the more dominant one, and his is more towards his mother's powers.
God, it's got to be so crazy that, like, I feel like, you know, if I was the kind of person that, like, needed to have a biological child just because I would want to see it look like me, can you imagine if you had powers? Like, I feel like I'd have to biologically have a child
just to see what they could do.
Just to see what kind of powers they would have.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. So we have this idea that this land, even though we don't have a map for it or anything, we are just, the map that we have to go off of is just Crescent City right now. But Ruhn's mom is a bit of a sad figure. She's chosen for breeding and basically kept in a house nearby. She holds no authoritative power, and Ruhn does what he can for her. There's no love between her and the Autumn King, but he had to basically he wanted an heir.
Yeah.
So he just kind of like went, this one. And it was due to her heritage that afforded him the abilities to retrieve the Star Sword, which is what?
What?
He is starborn, and that was what made him be able to retrieve the Star Sword.
Yes. Sidebar question that, like, outside of all of the books, but I can't remember. Autumn King only has the two, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's interesting too.
In reference to other things?
Hundreds of years of spewing your seed abouts the town. Not that he seems like the sexiest kind of guy. I do find
he's banging though.
You know, he must have been, but I feel like it's like that heir and a spare kind of thing. Like I wonder if it is that, you know, that like also that hatred towards Bryce being who she is. Because then, like, but then why would you have a child with a human?
Well,
Sorry, these are many questions about that. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm just curious.
But could it be because he accidentally caught feelings for the human and that made him angry?
Yeah.
And then she left, which made him even more angry because he wasn't controlling the situation. Because he's kind of vocalized that he didn't give a shit about having kids. He just wanted an heir.
Right.
But having that second kid reminds him of his failures or his lack of control over that situation or something. But so the starborn power that Ruhn has, he brings up this, he attained this thing called the Star Sword. And it's a special item that only responds to one Fae per generation. That there's a special sword being introduced brings me to mind some Akatar stuff. And maybe a lot of other people agree with me there.
Oh.
His father commands him forward and basically demands he produce starlight for him. So Autumn King's working on this. He's experimenting, and he demands that his son come forth and produce some starlight, which is something that can happen for like a starborn Fae. But even as a starborn Fae, he's kind of on the weaker side, and he can only produce a tiny little kernel, which kind of, I guess, comes out like juice.
Yeah, I feel like it is like a little, it makes me think of like in Little Shop of Horrors, the movie, when he squirts out just a drop of blood for Audrey.
Yeah. So he does that, and he produces that for his dad.
Audrey too, excuse me.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
I feel
Thank you.
embarrassed for
I was embarrassed.
So he does what his father asks, even though it's kind of uncomfortable for him to produce the starlight.
Lord knows daddy doesn't care how uncomfortable it is.
No, and he doesn't even really explain why he needs it or what he's doing. But he's using it for some kind of experiment. And then he comes out of left field and tells Ruhn that, guess what? He needs to begin the process of marriage. Which is like, Ruhn came over to help warn him, and suddenly he's like, give me your star power. You gotta go
get
up and get married. And his father explains that he is owed an heir. And then we need to explain some more Midgard sociology.
Okay.
So his father reminds him that the Oracle described Ruhn as becoming a fair and just king. The Oracle visit is something that happens to Fae when they turn 13, which we will learn more about in a bit. But it's another rite of passage where they receive what is essentially a fortune.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like a piece of information about their future, and it's usually in some kind of riddle. So Ruhn also mentions, and so what we know, according to the Autumn King, is that his oracle fortune was that he was going to turn into a fair and just king. Ruhn also mentions the ritual known as the ordeal. So we have two things we needed to learn about. Yes, we've got Starborn, we've got Sarsor, we've got Oracle, we've got the ordeal. There's a lot of shit going on.
Okay, all right.
So the ordeal is another ritual, and it'll get explained more later, but the long and short is that every young Fae will experience some large and grueling trial that will result in some sort of reward.
It's like a crazier battle-y college, you know?
Kind of, yeah. Just like it.
Yeah.
Fae don't choose their ordeal. The ordeal chooses them in some cosmic decision-making process. The ordeal happens to them.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And they don't always know it's happening until it starts happening. So, in essence, the Autumn King is inferring that he needs Ruhn to go through the motions befitting a prince to serve his father, give birth to an heir, and then serve as a just and fair king or whatever.
Fuck off, daddy cakes. Get out of here, daddy cakes.
And there is no love or concern in these commands from his father. He simply demands his only son do his bidding.
Yeah.
Ruhn says he's not going to do that. I'm not getting married. Then the Autumn King, classy as ever, tells him that a marriage is just a contract, that he can knock the assigned veneer lady up and then go back to, quote, fucking whomever you please.
Oh, thanks, Daddy. What guidance we're receiving from our paternal figure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But that's not what Ruhn's concerned about, and his dad would know that if he ever tried to know his son.
I know that I'm in my 60s, but you treat me like I'm 11.
But then his father does one worse. This marriage is about creating alliances, and I know I just told you that you needed to start thinking about marriage, Ruhn, but I actually already chose somebody, and you're getting betrothed to somebody. And her name is Hypaxia, and she's the newly crowned witch queen. Surprise!
What?
I know you came over here because you thought it would be nice to help your father,
What?
but instead, I'm going to fuck you over. And
But also, how awesome would it be if someone told me, it's like, all right, you're getting forced married, I'd be like, oh, boo, yuck. But then you're being forced to marry the newly crowned witch queen, I would certainly change my tune.
It depends on the kind of witch, though.
Yeah.
Because what if it's like a horrible witch?
Oh, no.
Who's got like...
Oh, no. I bang her for the power.
Okay.
I was talking about this on Tears of a Clown monster fucking the other day, even though witches were included in monster fucking, which don't get me started on how they're not
incorrect.
Monsters. But talking about, I was like, I'd even bang a crone because, like, just think of the
fair,
power.
of course.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm down, man. If I know that, like, God, the power of the earth lives inside of her and that, like, we're going to have, like, a great time.
And listen, crones need bones, too.
You're right. Thank you, Natalie. Here.
Yeah, they deserve it. So Hypaxia is the newly crowned witch queen, which, surprise, is now Ruhn's fiance. Hypaxia's mother had just died, which means that she was given the crown by descendant. So the Autumn King wants the connections to the witches. And now that means Ruhn will be doing that for them.
Ugh.
But Dad, I'm only 75.
That's the problem.
To add to the insult, the witch has never even been photographed, so he has no idea what she even looks like or anything about her as a person. And she's also only 26 to his 75.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take on, you know?
But the Autumn King ain't done yet. There's another thing. Remember Luna's horn from earlier in the book?
And he's just like, I just came over to tell you something.
This is why you don't try to help Autumn King.
No.
Don't ever do it.
I thought you were going to say just never help your parents. I was like, wow, that's bold. Never, ever. They ask you for help, say no.
No, we must.
No, we help. We help the parents.
So, remember that Luna's horn, the thing that disappeared at the beginning of this whole tale? Well, it's never been found since then.
What?
But out of the blue, Ruhn knows that it's never been found, and it never has. Autumn King has shown no interest in it. It was just some piece of like historical relic and whatever. And suddenly his father says, "You must find it," and Ruhn is confused. Why now? But he's not really given an answer. He obviously doesn't feel that his son deserves many answers, but his father points out that the horn was originally possession of Pelias, the first starborn prince. You may find that like calls to like. Merely researching it could reveal things to you that were hidden from others. And the two continue to get heated. But Ruhn's thoughts reveal that he still holds fear for his dad, who we learn through his memories has physically abused him as a child. This Curtis,
I want to help him. There's so many. If you have that feeling of like, oh, I just want to fix them. Let me fix them. This book is for y'all.
But it's not like fix them, because a lot of times that's like a toxic. The person like is a huge piece of shit.
Right.
And
no,
I'm
these are
fix
the
them.
this is the sad side of it. It's the sad trauma side of it.
So.
Which, I love a sad. I love a sad.
After a while, you're going to like, shut up.
I know, but also like, let me make you smile.
So he essentially, again, in essence, this courtesy visit to tell his father political news has not gone well for Ruhn. Lots of bullshit has just been piled at his front door.
Find the horn, like calls to like, an appropriate marriage, produce an heir. You owe it to our bloodline.
The degradation and dismissal of his father's words swim through his head. He leaves fantasizing about a stiff drink. Even more so because the oracle fortune that his father thinks he received is bullshit. Ruhn lied to him all the way back when.
With every step out of his father's villa, Ruhn could once more hear the oracle's unearthly whispering, reading the smoke while he trembled in her dim marble chamber. The royal bloodline shall end with you, Prince.
What?
Man, but I also, isn't it nuts that even at 13, Ruhn was like, I really shouldn't tell my father this.
Yeah, he's like,
I really shouldn't bring this up. So the royal bloodline ends with Ruhn.
Yep. So I imagine even as a kid, you understand that you're supposed to provide
an heir.
Heirs.
Especially, I mean, as a prince.
Yeah.
It's like almost your only duty, especially according to someone like the Autumn King.
Yeah. So he doesn't tell his dad, and his dad still thinks that the oracle said he was simply going to be a fair and just king. But he has a secret, and he doesn't really know what to do with that information, but we know it now too.
Yep.
And we're going to have to find out what that means on the next one.
And will we find out on the next one, or will we find out in quite some time from now? Don't worry, it'll keep you hanging on. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this week, and I'm excited to continue on unpuzzling this story alongside you.
I hope you remember all the definitions of stuff from today.
There will be a sexy quiz at the end.